First up is how to get Alfira to join you permanently. In patch 7, Larian finally let Alfira join the party during a Dark Urge playthrough temporarily. However, there is a way to get her to stay with you on your adventures as a permanent companion, which is absolutely amazing. Now, she doesn't have any dialogue lines, unfortunately, but she can act as a regular companion when talking to other NPCs and functions nearly as well. To get her to permanently join your party, on the night when Alfira joins your party, have her murder your Dark Urge and then send the Dark Urge's inventory to camp so that they're lighter, and then have Alfira drink a potion of Hill Giant Strength for extra strength, and then pick the Dark Urge's corpse up. That will instantly cause a loading screen, and the next thing you know, you're in the mountain pass with Alfira alive and the Dark Urge dead. Now from that point on, Alfira is a new permanent companion. Now there are a couple drawbacks. One is that her health doesn't seem to increase as she levels up, unfortunately, unless you increase the difficulty, which increases it for some reason, so she's not really great against enemies that can deal damage. Also, her clothing won't update when you equip her. She'll always look the same, except sometimes when you level up or change classes, you'll see her clothes update there. So while it's extremely cool to have her appear in cinematics and conversations, she does fall a bit short when it comes to equipment, health, and dialogue lines. Now on top of that, if she does happen to die, like actually die, not just get downed, which is likely with her reduced health pool, you can't even use a scroll of revivify on her either, so she'll be permanently dead once again. Now all these shortcomings are expected since she really isn't supposed to be able to be a permanent companion anyways, but we all can dream. And a big shout out to Horthos, who showed me how to do this. And next up is a new trader trick for patch 7. If the Warlock bound weapon trick isn't your style, here's another one. You'll need a druid and a Runepowder barrel. All you need to do is shapeshift into any animal and then try to use the Runepowder barrel by double clicking on it, which will do nothing. Then go to a trader and barter the Runepowder barrel, and like a bound weapon, it is now stuck with you, letting you take the value of the barrel from the trader over and over until you have everything you want. Now you can get a Runepowder barrel very early on in Act 1. Just head to the Grymforge, fight 3 slimes as you head towards Philomeen the Ironhand Gnome, and during dialogue with Philomeen, have a second character drink a potion of invisibility or just otherwise go invisible and steal the Runepowder barrel from her. Then you've got what you need for the infinite gold and loot from traders. And next up is a hidden change nowhere listed in the patch 7 notes. The feat Savage Attacker is now applying to Sneak Attack. Savage Attacker grants your melee damage rolls to roll 2 dice and use the higher of the 2 rolls. This also applies to certain damage riders like the fire damage from Flawed Helldusk Gloves, which is awesome, and this can make you deal 20 to 40% more damage depending on the range of damage that you can deal. And Sneak Attack is a rogue weapon action that allows you to deal extra damage to a foe that you have advantage against, or if you have an ally within 5 feet of your target and you don't have disadvantage yourself. Sneak Attack is very powerful, and with Savage Attacker now re-rolling the damage dice, this is a secret buff that can make Rogue a much more powerful class in patch 7. And next up is a hidden dialogue with Crusher. Crusher is the goblin boasting in the goblin camp about how he got to kiss Shadowheart's feet, but during a Dark Urge playthrough, you can actually have a dialogue option to imagine biting his toe off. If you select this option, your screen will turn red and the narrator will describe enveloping the toe in your maw and then the taste of it after you've bitten it off. It's a grisly sight, and unfortunately you don't get the ring that is supposed to be on it either, so it's not necessarily the best dialogue option. And then combat will ensue with just Crusher and his buddies, which you can win if you just defeat Crusher. There's no reward or inspiration for this dialogue option either, unless this is the first time you gave into your urge, in which case you would be awarded with the Indulge Thine Appetites inspiration, which is kind of funny considering you're actually eating a toe in this particular scenario. And next up is how to slay any NPC without causing combat afterwards. To do this, just create a cloud of daggers in town and then drop your favorite explosive nearby, and when you're ready to light it up, just drop an acid of vial or caustic caustic bulb into the cloud of daggers. This will cause the item that creates a surface that deals damage over time to detonate the explosive, and surprisingly, the guards will be unable to tie it back to you as the one who did it, letting you walk away blameless. This is because it was not actually you that caused the destruction in the guard's view. It was that nasty cloud of daggers that was responsible, but you can't throw a spell in prison, can you? So if you ever want to get away with murder in town, this is one way to pull it off. And next up is how to deal infinite damage with a fire surface. Now to do this, all you need to do is create a fire surface at the feet of your target. Alchemist's Fire works great for this. Then once it's your turn, get close but not too close to the fire surface. Then split stacks of smoke powder bombs into stacks of 1 and then drop them from your inventory onto the ground. From there, you can just drag them into the fire surface as close to your enemy as possible, and you can do this as many times as you have smoke powder bombs, since neither dropping items nor moving items on the ground costs an action, which leads to nearly infinite damage as long as you have a fire surface to work with and some smoke powder bombs. And next up is how to get infinite movement speed and infinite damage as well. If you have a character who is a wild heart barbarian with aspect of the elk, each time you have a character enter the aspect of the elk aura, you will gain plus 5 feet bonus to movement speed. If you also have dash on, you'll gain even more. And by moving in and out of the aura, expending less movement than you gain, you can actually accumulate an infinite amount of movement speed. And then by having an infinite amount of movement speed, you can also deal an infinite amount of damage through reverberation caused by Falar Aluve's Shriek. By having the Boots of Stormy Clamor equipped, you can cause 2 turns of reverberation each time you inflict a condition. However, you should only be able to apply this once per turn with Falar Aluve's Shriek, but you can actually apply it over and over if after each time you apply reverberation, you try and talk to the sentient amulet. Now, for some reason, this lets you apply reverberation again from Falar Aluve's Shriek, allowing you to do infinite damage with your infinite movement speed. It also takes a long time to defeat an enemy this way, since reverberation only deals 1d4 thunder damage once the target has 5 or more turns of reverberation, so you'll need to be patient if you use this method, but you can get infinite damage this way. And next up is how to instantly slay any target. By casting Dominate Person on an enemy to turn them into an ally, followed up by Polymorph and Gaseous Form, you can attack them with nearly any attack and they will die instantly because they only have 3 health points. Now usually when a polymorph target gets attacked, they will return to their normal form, but when turned into a gaseous form from polymorph, instead they will die instantly. Now because all 3 of these spells require concentration, you will need 2 party members to work together to pull this off. The first party member must use Dominate Person, the second uses Polymorph, and then the first then uses Gaseous Form. Now upon casting the third spell, combat with a 3 health point cloud will begin, but that will end very shortly after for a very easy way to cheese most boss fights. And next up is how to deal double damage simply by playing a character with a certain appearance. Now the small female body type for some reason causes Shadow Strike to strike twice, leading to double damage as long as you are not wielding a weapon in your offhand. This means that a companion like Shadowheart, when playing as a Way of the Shadow monk using Shadow Strike, will consistently deal double damage. I tested it, and characters like Gale do not get this strange second double attack when all things are equal. So if you love playing a Way of Shadow monk, which is actually very fun to play, definitely make sure to play with a small female body type to double your damage with Shadow Strike. And next up is how to dual wield without the feat. To do this, have one character with a shield in their offhand and one of the weapons you want to dual wield in the other. Then drag the shield onto the offhand of the weapon you want to dual wield on, and it will actually equip the main hand onto the offhand of the character you want to dual wield with. Then just drag your main hand to swap with your offhand and repeat the same exact process again, dragging the shield over to the offhand of the character you want to dual wield with. Then you've got your character dual wielding when they shouldn't actually be able to, freeing you up to choose a different feat. And next up is a hidden tombstone within the Act 3 graveyard. Near the entrance to the Grand Mausoleum, there is a tombstone that can be interacted with, which the narrator will then read. One in particular is rather interesting. It reads, "Aradin the Elder, open the bloody gates." It seems that Aradin's bloodline seems to keep running into the same situation where they're yelling for gates to be opened. Now, as we saw during the first attack on the Emerald Grove, where Aradin the Younger yells to open the bloody gates, it seems like this is a trend. Now, since Since this tomb is marked Aradin the Elder, we can only assume that this is Aradin's father or perhaps grandfather, and perhaps even perished for the gates not being opened in a time. And next up is Topaz's secret stash. Within the Emerald Grove of Act 1, you can find a bird named Topaz who is fussing over whether or not his gold coin is placed absolutely center within his nest. But within the nest is also a shiny key. By choosing the correct dialogue options, you can acquire this key, but you might be wondering, what is this key even used for? Now, it turns out at the top of the pillars, just northwest of the nest, is actually a chest which the key unlocks. Inside the chest is some gold, a silver ingot, and a scroll of gaseous form.